I think in YouTube it just goes out as the speaker view. Is that right, Kurt?
YouTube is just speaker view. You don't see what's happening.
You don't see all of us. Yeah.
It should be going out now.
Okay.
All right.
So
I'm not
I'll
going
bow out.
to
Everybody's
t-shirt
do
or
your introductions, friends. And
that. But I do want to I want to welcome everybody to what I'm calling virtual Mollies. We have been traveling Mollies, but now we're virtual Mollies, and I want to welcome you all. We're going to start with our open mic. Well, we're going to start with Al and I, and our feature tonight. And you know, we may not be able to hear you, but we can see you clap. So our feature for tonight is Rose M. Smith from Ohio.
Yeah.
The sound of two hands making no noise. And Rusty Russell is going to open for her, and long-time poet in the performance scene. And Al, do you have anything to say?
All I have to say tonight is welcome everybody out there in YouTube land. Just for our readers here on Zoom and for people on YouTube, thanks for coming. But we've been getting a lot more contact with the world virtually than we ever do in person in the cafe. So this is really kind of fun. We've been getting over 100 people each month, which we couldn't even fit into the Buzz Cafe. So that's kind of nice. And then it's kind of nice too to also have people from different states. Tonight in the open mic, we have Ralph, who's from Door County, and Rusty, who's in Madison, and Rose is in Ohio. So we're kind of spread out all over the place. Oh, and Robbie's in California, right? So we're all over the place. Nina, do you want to start, or would you like me to start?
You know, I feel like there's something else I want to say. Oh, that people YouTube land should, if you want to, just write your name, because we don't know who you are. And if you want to be on our list, give us your email as well. And that's private, right? No one else will see it. But
no, that goes into the chat on YouTube. But folks, you can figure it out if you want to get on our mailing list, or just be our friends Traveling Mollies on Facebook. You'll find out what's happening next month.
Sounds good. Next month, I do want to say this. Our feature is going to be Tim Siebels, and if you don't know who he is, you're going to want to be here. His last name is spelled Seibles, and I just can't tell you how much I love him. But you can see his work. He's all over the internet. He teaches at ODU, and you're going to want to be here. But look him up. You can see him reading. You can whatever. You're going to want to be here. So enough. I'm going to see if I can read this poem called Joints, which was written for a collection about body parts or poems of the body. This is Joints. Casting about the cluttered machine shop, a young god mulls over the hodgepodge of body parts, ponders the quandary of bending, how to build a body that can elbow through a crowd, squat in labor, bow in deference, stand with arms akimbo in resistance. Scratching his head, the deity surveys the primitive gizmos and gadgets, the gristle and bones, and tries to devise a way to piece together the movable parts without leaving a couple or three unhitched and unaccounted for. Glue will never do. Dries too hard, he thinks, rolling his eyes to the heavens before he remembers no heaven exists above him. nor yet any icons or mannequins, those stiff approximations molded to the human touch. He considers the jeweler's jump rings linked together in a charm bracelet, darling optionals twisting this way and that. Perhaps an additional finger or extra flub dub of the heart. But then there's the problem of rust. Nonplussed, he selects an assortment of joints, here a ball and socket, there a hinge, potentially a tongue and groove. Momentarily, he pauses to contemplate if bending is more a function of mind or mechanics. To be determined, he shrugs, returning to the lot before him. Thank you. So,
Well, people, thank you, Nina.
Al DeGenova, go for it.
Yeah, thank you, Nina. At the Traveling Molly's open mic, Nina and I always start things out so nobody has to be first in the open mic. But so I decided to do an older poem today that just felt apropos for our times. And anyway, it's called Living History. Hemingway's breath still lingers here on this street, my street, his street. Did he ever walk across my lawn, sit on my porch on his way to school, the same school my sons sit in now? I walk past his boyhood home, look up to his third floor bedroom. The light is on tonight in that center window. Whose 17-year-old shadow contemplates the glory of war? Do those old floorboards still hold the crescent moons of his fingernails? If matter and energy can never be destroyed, then history is a fishbowl. We share this same water for eternity. The song Hemingway hears as he runs to catch a football is my voice, my son's piano from our open door. Then, if it's all true, I swim in the same salty Mediterranean where my grandfathers washed their feet. I touch the skin of the dead then when I write my name in the dust on my brother's Manhattan bookshelves. And the dead know me, know I am here now, trying to taste their history like a ripe plum, like sour mash, like all the lovers who've kissed my lover's lips. We are the ancient dirt beneath our feet, are the Nazis, the popes, the Michigan militia, all the hot dog vendors of Bourbon Street. We are the president. We are the bombs, the dead babies, the homeless garbage eaters. We are history. The waiter delivers our father's tabs, and we pay, we pay. So, oh, thank you. I see the silent hands.
That was wonderful, Al. Thank you.
Thank you. I have to see, who do we want to call first in the open mic? Now we're going to open it up. I don't know who got here first because I was late, but I'm going to ask Leonard Lund to be our first reader tonight. Leonard?
Sounds good. I dug out some older stuff to read this evening as well. And none of these have ever been read before, and they haven't been published, so they're definitely on the old side. Parentheticals. I touch my forehead to my heart to genuflect and find they are my guts. And it is possible to touch and not touch. An alternating poem. Our currencies and currents are good only if exchanged. Of what moment then is Dolly's fiery giraffe if we cannot begin to deal with each other, with the frailties which at once attract, repel us? I remember being 7, 8 years old, wondering that the images on my father's silver screen all seemed so hard of hearing. That's just Bloody Wizard. The lion roams the streets and roars his noisy bravery. The Tin Man hits on anything in a blue skirt and petticoats. The scarecrow has Einsteined whole flocks of birds to senselessness. And Dorothy, the only one with an honest goal, the only one who could keep her 3 suitors in line, has made a one-way trip back home, leaving us to deal with what she started. And the last of the 3, Sweet Tooth. I have held the naked beauty of your heart at my command, walked the open streets of your past to learn you, and marveled unrestrained at your soul, bared to save me. Human despite myself, I dared to dream and to crave more. Thank you.
Thank you.
You know, Leonard, I was reminded of how I used to think about how fantastic our open mic is, because we have people in it that write about pictures of from Dali, which is very cool. And yes, so thank you. And how about if we have Viola Lee reading?
That sounds good. Thank you. Thank you, Nina and Al, for Nina, it's so nice to meet you. And Al, thank you always for bringing people together. Really appreciative of both of your work.
You are welcome, Viola.
Thank you.
It's good to see you again.
You too. Really good to see you. I have 2 poems that I wanted to read today. And they're actually both about just kind of living with children, and maybe I should say surviving with children. So the first one, this is called Life with Children. Life with children. Every night while my children are sleeping, my husband watches crime videos of wives being murdered by husbands and husbands being murdered by wives. It's the only time of day where I'm not the feeling the marital bliss wife and not the grateful to be both mother and teacher, but wish to God and the heavens that I was the bachelor that I never could become. I feel drunk, especially since I broke the rule of only buying wine for $15 or less, because this bad baby cost me $34.99. I feel drunk on wine and prose poetry. How could I forget you, prose poetry? The poems that woo me into the existence of sheer pleasure and bliss, and that feeling that I could do whatever the fuck I want in a poem. Every night, while their beautiful bodies are asleep and they look to me like dead glass dragonflies, I stopped poking them many months ago because they're always alive. I go outside to watch all the lightning bugs my children have collected, breathing on and off in those old pasta sauce jars, knowing I could never be a child again, not even when I'm standing at heaven's gate, some church song playing by harp in the background, and an old man with his white beard asking me to give myself a grade. I will say to the old man, give me a B+, letter B for the word bachelor, like the bachelor I could never become, not even in my afterlife, when I'm sitting on my front porch, nursing a cold glass of white wine, prose poems in hand, excited to be left alone at least until tomorrow morning, where we will all wake up to our dried bathing suits, hanging on the clothesline on the lawn, cluttered with Pokemon cards, Barbies, Legos, and paper plates of cold dinner, waiting for each other to apologize. Life with children. And then my last poem, this is actually about motherhood, and it's called Q-tip. Okay, Q-tip. I remember when my 4-year-old walked over to me on her birthday with a Q-tip covered with her ear fluid, rounded, glistening with her sticky golden earwax from within that dark, cavernous tunnel of her ear canal. She held up the cotton Q-tip to the light. Briefly, it looked like a small mallet used to play drums. And suddenly, a loud sound rushed out of my body. Listen, you must be careful. Don't push, because if it goes too deep, you may rupture your eardrum. To calm down, I added, did you know that your eardrum is also called the tympanic membrane? Tympanic. Doesn't that sound like the noise a drum would make? After my daughter handed me the Q-tip, my body slowed down. And out of nowhere, I thought of the day when we were discharged from the hospital. I felt like my body wanted to hibernate as soon as we arrived home. And all those nights, all those witching hours, that marriage between both white noise and her soft body, swaddled inside white cotton muslin. Those first nights and that deep anxiety around feeding, fearing how she could choke on my breast milk from drinking so quickly. It is strange what a daughter can do to the body. From the get-go, you learn to let go, you learn to release, to give her breath and to pass down that power. You learn to listen closely to each sound. You understand that the ears work with the body to connect her to you. You understand how the inner ear works to listen to the world, to listen to this poem, and how this poem wants to remember your daughter as an infant, a toddler, a child, how this poem wants to remain here, sulking about the time in the world together, sulking about the time in the world together, where you work to hold each other, learning to listen in, learning to practice the necessary work of being here in the world, learning what it means to pay attention and to listen courageously. Thank you so much.
That was wonderful. Beautiful.
Thank you.
I'm not quick enough on the unmute. Yes, that was really nice. Thank you. Who should we call? Robbie, you want to go next?
Okay, I have a very, very short one and a longish one. So I'll start with the shortish one. LP. The needle drops and music rises, a voice I never knew I had. Without the stylus prying out the notes, I'm no one, spinning in the silent world around my spindle. As the notes unfold, I think that this must be the way a nightingale erupts in song, announcing, I exist. And then, if you were here a little earlier, you would have heard that I live in Southern California, but I'm actually from Philadelphia. And so I wrote this poem about a field trip that we took in 3rd grade to Betsy Ross's house. Field trip. In 3rd grade, our teacher led us single file from the banana yellow bus to visit Betsy Ross. She wasn't home, but we still saw her house, climbing up the steep and narrow stairs, so close together they seemed fashioned for a child. The ceiling wasn't far above our heads, and we were 8. We wondered, how could Betsy live inside a dollhouse? But at the top, the staircase opened to an ordinary room. There was Betsy's bedroom and some ugly chairs, worn and uncomfortable, the kind that might make dinner guests eager to leave without dessert. We heard that Betsy earned her living covering furniture, and that was odd, considering the sad state of those chairs. She once sewed on a button for George Washington. The famous flag she made lay behind a golden rope draped on a green settee. In fact, there were several flags, the stripes and stars in different configurations. At first, the stars were splattered like paint across a field. They had 6 points, but Betsy, being practical, argued for 5-pointed stars, easier to cut, until they finally settled on the flag we knew. The stripes were narrower, colors reversed, stars in a circle in the corner. Someone had to use the toilet, but Betsy didn't have one, at least not in the house. That's when we learned that indoor plumbing hadn't always been a thing. We wondered what the world would be like in 100 years. Look at Betsy's kitchen. No stove or running water, just a fireplace with a hanging kettle. Water was outside. The teacher let us take turns pumping. It took 2 of us to bring the handle down. People then must have been so much stronger than we were. The cellar was a cave, no walls or floor, dark and cool. It smelled like dirt. Rough shelves held amber jars of honey, jam from plums and peaches grown in Betsy's garden. The guide said we could buy some at the store on the way out, alongside tiny flags and books about George Washington. That was the day I learned that I was part of something larger than myself, something made of change. Thank you. Thank you very much for inviting me.
Love that.
Thanks.
Bravo.
Very nice.
I'm having a hard time unmuting.
If you press the space bar, press the space bar.
Am I audible now?
Wow,
was-
that
Yeah.
works, Susan.
It's like-
Thank you.
It's like a walkie-talkie. You press the
Thank
bar
you,
and you
Susan.
talk, it will go.
Very cool. Very cool. Well, I am really excited. It's been a fantastic open mic, but I am really so thrilled to have Shelley Nation Watson be here tonight because I just haven't seen her face in quite some time, and she's been working on some what sounds like it's very cool stuff. So I can't wait to hear some of it. Shelley.
Thank you. Thank you so much. The past 2 years, I have been reading my family history through the history of the Cherokee Nation. And so I have started kind of thinking over the summer that it's why am I reading all of this and learning all of this if I'm not doing something with it? So I am working on several pieces and found an amazing Cherokee artist to illustrate, and she is a cousin. So I'm finding all kinds of cousins as I'm going through this whole process. So I want to start off with one of my ancestors that I feel a really, really strong connection with. He is my 6th grade uncle, and his name is Dragon Canoe. And I'm just going to read a few of his. I'm just continuing his words. He's been, if I don't know if it's cliche to say he's speaking through me, but he's not done speaking to me. But I'm just going to read a few of his Dragon Canoe. I am surrounded by homemade toys, a bow, an arrow, a ball of twine. At 4, I know I will be a warrior like my father, facing those who steal from us our land, our promise, our spirit. Comforting my mother as she weeps for him, a regular hunt becomes tragedy, and she thinks he's gone forever. I tell her that father will be back. She wants to believe me, but I'm only a toddler. I speak what I believe with no experience. At 11, I weaved my way through the crowd to my father. 7 years kept from me, 7 years held prisoner, 7 years among the Ottawa, captured while hunting for my family. His skillful tongue kept him alive. I am proud of my father, strengthens my resolve to follow him, a proud warrior. I have practiced shooting my arrows, a blowgun, ball sticks, although I am too young to play. Soon after father returned, we learned of a raid. The warriors prepared, fasting occurred, dances were held, chants were performed. The men slept away from the women for 4 nights. The morning of the journey, I was equipped, my bow and arrow slung over my shoulders, my war club at its ready, my face determined until I was caught yards away from the river. My father, hearing my footsteps, quickly swiveled his body towards mine. I had not yet learned the art of stealth and was reproached. You must go back. You're too young for this. Go home. 3 times this happened. My patience met his. At a standstill we stood. I the warrior, he the father, I the child, he the man I did not know. Okay, you can join us. Be a warrior with us. Protect the village with us. My small chest swelled. Pride filled my heart. Pick up a dugout, place it in the water, and you can come. I stood silent on the ground, my toes gripping the soil. I thought of my size, the heft of the boats, watched 6 grown men lift a dugout by the river, slowly carry it to the water. I stood in front of a canoe, the water at my back, embraced a bow with arms built for a child, tugged, pulled, heaved with the might of a young man. Faintly, I hear hollers, men in wonder. My father turns in astonishment. My name has been cemented. Ziyu Gansini. He's dragging the canoe. And
Nice.
I've been trying to decide a second poem, and I've decided to do this one as my grandmother. She actually died the year I was born, 1969. And my father and his small sister were both removed from home by the state. When I think he was 5, she was 3. I'm not sure exactly the date. So this is called Removal, Laura Annie West. And this is her voice. Social services invade my home, knock on my wooden door, hurry across the dirt floor. I see the looks they share. The house unclean, clothes full of grime, children's faces display exhaustion of another day trying to get by. I cry for them to leave. My 2 youngest children stand in confusion. Their lives will become upended. I scream that I can handle my own, care for my youngest. I glare at the neighbors in the street, wondering who called it in. Reports of neglect or abuse or can't take care of, or too many men walking in and out of the house. My vision blurred by a flood of tears, cacophony of sounds. I scratch my left wrist while I grab for little Ricky, watch my babies being pulled out the front door. Pushed into a strange car, brother and sister, dirty knees touching, cramped in the back seat, driving away through back roads, dust settling on windows, on arms out in the air, on a heavy heart, my heart so heavy. Thank you.
Beautiful.
Thank you. Thank you, Shelley.
Thank you. Thank you, Nina, for reaching out. I appreciate it. And I'll let you all know when the book is ready. We'll see. It's been interesting experience, to say the least.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, good luck with that. Thanks. So next in our open mic, I'm going to ask Ralph Murray to share some of his work. Ralph, you got the mic.
Thanks, Al. Thanks for having me, you guys. I'm going to read two poems, I guess. I've been doing some of my most recent have been kind of half crazy old men I run into, and I jot down what they say. This is called Orion's Best Friend. Another old man, always trying seriously to take nothing seriously. Since 44, he says. When they start dropping A-bombs and you're a year old, he says, you gotta try seriously to take nothing seriously after that. Korea, what the hell, Vietnam, desert storms, locust swarms, Martin King, everything. Get drunk, get stoned, get laid off. Green deals, black lives, caged children, desperate wives, crooked husbands getting paid off. Artificial knees, artificial hearts, get a grip, he says. The artificially hip have got artificial smarts. Ha! Artificial intelligence, who doesn't have to laugh? The epitaph, here lies the artificial man. A third-degree black belt who never lands a kick. A third-degree Mason who never laid a brick. Degrees? Geez, man. There are doctors who never see the sick, unless you got the money, sonny. Seriously? Isn't Sirius that dog star? Orion's best friend and hunting buddy? Maybe you can trust the stars to tell some truth, or Willie Nelson, or Jimmy Carter. Babe Ruth hit him where he said he would. But you gotta try really seriously to not take yourself seriously. Sylvia Plath, Robin Williams, Phil Oakes. Damn it, son. The graveyard's full of folks, he says, I swear it, who never got the joke. Thanks. I was going to read another one from the Crazy Old Man series, but then I thought for the day of mourning that is Columbus Day, maybe this would be more appropriate. It's called Starlings in America. The watchman stood alone on his blue hill and watched then as he does now, saw them coming. A few Vikings, some kook in a coracle. He saw 3 ships come sailing in from Spain. They traded trinkets for coconuts and corn, traded pox for potatoes. A syphilitic wife will change your life. The sun rises and the sun sets. Their God was nailed to a tree where they could keep an eye on him. They brought original sin, brought a savior and took silver, brought guns and took gold, brought alcohol, took tobacco. They brought ponies and plunder, were crazy for beaver and a quick way to China. In time, they brought steel and steam. A steel knife will change your life too. The sun rises and the sun sets. They brought bulldozers and drag line buckets, tore the earth, tore the good earth, put it on Mr. Peabody's coal train. Brought languages, took languages away, brought starlings. Brought Studebakers and Scotch tape, duct tape and red tape. They brought refrigerator magnets, Scotch and soda, the cotton gin, wrinkle-free polyester, bourbon and Bud Light, and a bomb that bloomed in the desert. They taught children to hide under desks. Atomic strife will change your life. The sun rises and sets. Edsels come and Edsels go. The watchman stands alone on his blue hill. Do not be hopeful, he calls out at last, but do not be without hope. They brought Schubert.
That's great.
Thank you. Wow.
No, it just, we're getting a lot of history tonight, but one of the things I was liking, Ralph, was the way you go back and forth in different points in history. So our next poet is Sarah Ray. Sarah Ray.
Hey, hi, everybody. Really great to be here. To Al and Nina, and to the readers. I'm really looking forward to the featured readers, and it's been great listening to the rest of you, to the other open micers too. Thanks. So I'm going to read a couple of new ones, and then a couple really short ones from my chapbook that I'm still promoting that just came out not too long ago. The first one is a newer one called "The Road to the Ferry." Begins with a quote by William S. Burroughs. "Nothing is true, everything is permitted." William S. Burroughs. The ridges, I remember the ridges the most, hard and bumpy, jutting up on the concrete road under my feet. And my skirt, the one I wore that last day, vintage fabric with multicolored spaceships, one of my favorites, lost years later by Southwest Airlines, missed ever since. Hotel El Mineria in Tangier, where we slept the night before, where Lonely Planet said William Burroughs wrote Naked Lunch. I was impressed, though you hadn't heard of him, probably a good thing. The day before at the beach, rolling in waves, burying ourselves to our necks, grinning big for our cameras, slurping shrimp for lunch. There were even a few camels, their owners hawking rides along the shore. I have photos. The sand tracked into our hotel bathroom, gritting the toilet seat, the floor, the tiles, the shower. The sun in the morning, painting the room blue, white, eggshell yellow, our sweaty bodies melding in its beams before the brightness stung my eyes. The breeze, fresh, billowing the curtains, their hems catching on the sills. The floor-length French window yawning to the terrace. The road, the concrete road, the walk to the ferry down the hill, my spaceship skirt, the ridges. Everything blue and white that morning, the blue hotel, the white road, the buoyancy of the day. I felt it, felt it, felt it. Did I know it was our last goodbye? We stopped to eat tea cakes and drink coffee. I thought about Burroughs, how he walked that same hill, doping and riding through his days. Did he feel the ridges? Then there was you on the pier, walking away, not looking back. The blue of your shirt dissolving into the white of the city, your words floating, floating in air. It was a nice trip. We'd kissed. You looked older, calmer. Your beard had seemed fuller. Yes, it has been. One of the best. Did I say that out loud? Thanks. William S. Burroughs. Okay. Next one is called Searching for Home. It's a villanelle. In the tomato soup Sunday suppers of my childhood, in the blue and white kitchen with the portable black and white TV, Ed Sullivan appears in front of the unending gray curtain. We eat open-faced grilled Velveeta and bacon sandwiches as Disney's wonderful world of color explodes in black and white in the tomato soup Sunday suppers of my childhood. Its eternal fantasy enthralls all of us, even my workaholic father. But now as homework and time distract the others, I linger again to see Ed Sullivan emerging before the unending gray curtain, introducing the next performance, drawn in by his hunched profile, his frog-like fakes, the quirky ventriloquist voice. He reminds me of no one I know in the tomato soup Sunday suppers of my childhood. Comics with off-color humor, long-haired singers with psychedelic backdrops I don't want my parents to see. The spinning plate man, the mouse puppet that I don't mind if they do. Ed Sullivan pulls back the unending gray curtain. Maybe that's my issue. My search for Disney leads me to Sullivan instead, to the risk, the magic. I'm here in the blue and white kitchen, in the tomato soup Sunday suppers of my childhood, waiting for him to reveal what comes next.
Wonderful.
Okay. Thanks.
From William Burroughs to Ed Sullivan.
Yeah, I had to. So I have just two short more ones. I hope that that's not taking up too much time. From my chapbook that came out someplace else from Dancing Girl Press. Okay. This one is called At Starbucks on Montrose While Reading About Trump's Proposed Border Wall. He looks to be about 8 or 9, fidgets as he waits for the drinks, turns this way and that, kicks the yellow plastic cone that warns us of the wet floor with bright red letters. They soon come, 4 grande or venti cappuccinos or macchiatos or something of the sort, placed in a cardboard box-like container. And though they seem too much for him, he rises to the challenge, reaches for the carton, grabs the sides, steadies the cups within. He finds his balance, his footing, now shifts his weight, starts to walk for the door. And one more quick one. Thanks everybody for bearing with me here. This one is called La Vida Nueva. He comes to see her in the evening, apologizes for the dust in his clothes and in his hair. Demasiado polvo. He's been mixing plaster today, yesterday painted radiators. She asks if he likes mixing plaster. He says no. She asks if he likes painting. He says no. He says he liked the banking job he had in Guatemala before he came. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, my turn to call the next person up. I'm going to ask Susan Messer to read for us tonight.
Well, this is part of a larger piece that I've been working on very recently, called In the Time Before You Knew It Was the Time. I remember the last time my book group met in person, Saturday, February 1st, at my house, my warm living room, Fred walking in, peeling off hat, gloves, scarf, parka, saying, "That virus is coming for us," and my peevish response, "Don't say that." We'd all seen the photos from Wuhan, the masked people in the grocery checkout lines, what looked like chaos and panic. A few of us had remnants of our own winter flus. I wondered about how close to sit on the couch. Still, China was continents away. Still, Fred insisted, "It's coming." Until his wife said, "You're making yourself unpopular." So he dropped it. I remember the last time I met with my neighbors group, Friday, February 21st, in the beautiful home across the street. The youngest daughter had a bad cough. Although she was sequestered in another part of the house and we were in the kitchen, I could hear that cough. I heard it later too, when we moved to a circle in the living room. I suggested that each person offer a one-word description for their current state of mind. Comfortable, a few said, to describe their feeling about the group. Anxious, said the woman to my right, because she hated her job and was waiting for the results of a recent interview for a new one. Bipolar, the man to my left said. Not in the clinical sense, he assured, just too many ups and downs. Relaxing, said our host, lifting her wine glass, referring to a stressful week. I remember the last time my Proust group met in person. Jim, me, David, and Alice, our house, Saturday, February 22nd, 3 days after my birthday and 2 days after David's. Volume 5, The Prisoner, pages 354 to 376, another deep dive into Proust's favorite topics, time, art, love, jealousy, obsession, the impossible undertaking of knowing another human. As an homage to Proust, and as a birthday gift for me, I'd asked everyone to recapture temps perdu by bringing a memory of a birthday past. They did. My husband and Alice brought memories from early childhood. David brought one from adulthood, a birthday that everyone in his family had forgotten. I told about one from my early days with Jim in a dugout canoe on our way to a small fishing village in Belize. David brought an extra gift, a joint, which delighted me, though it still sits on our coffee table, mostly unsmoked. I remember the last time I attended a full-fledged cultural event, Friday, February 28th. Took the Green Line into town with my husband and 2 friends, dined at the Gage on Michigan Avenue at Pavlova for dessert. That morning, I'd read a post from the illustrious illustrator Myra Kalman, in which she listed 5 of her favorite things, one of them being Proust and another being the Pavlova, named for the ballerina Anna Pavlova. I had never had a Pavlova before that night at the Gage, a miraculous layering of crispy, chewy, and creamy. I remember the last time my husband and I went to dinner at a friend's house, Saturday, March 14th. Everything had become odd enough that we called ahead to see if our friends still wanted to host us. Yes, they said, but when we hugged on arriving, I mentioned that perhaps we should not have done that. The meal was delicious. 5 spiced chicken, mashed potatoes, a perfectly cooked green vegetable, and a very special dessert, possibly with lemon curd and raspberry that our host created to recall some aspect of our friendship history. The specifics have now been blotted out, but in my memory, the dessert bore some resemblance to a pavlova. Enough was left over that our friends gave us half to take home. I remember my daughter telling me that when she lived in New Orleans, getting to know someone involved hearing their Katrina story. I remember the conversation with a friend who told me about her grandparents who survived the 1918 flu pandemic and about their routine of going outside every morning and taking 5 deep breaths. And so I have done that every morning for the past months. I put on my 10-pound weight vest for bone strengthening, which makes me look a bit like a gladiator. I drink a large glass of water and I step onto my front porch. Recently, I have made a slight adjustment. Following the suggestion of spiritual earth mother, Toni Anderson, I now place the emphasis on my exhaling breath in what I've come to think of as the expunging exhale.
Great.
Hi, and Lisa Marie Farver, I'm going to have you read next, but how many people have written a COVID poem or piece in this?
Yeah, kind of. Sure.
Yeah, there's something about hearing that you read that piece, Susan, that's just like, it kind of evokes that, you know, we didn't know there was going to be a lockdown. And then one of my clients came in and said, you know, it's going to be announced because some of the teachers in particular had to get warning because so they could just clean things out in their schoolrooms and all of that. And Shelley's nodding her head. And
well, what I really wanted to do was capture that before we knew time, in the time before
Right.
you knew it was the time. That's like the relative innocence that you can look back on now and go, whoa, I really didn't know yet.
so to hear that and to think like, Oh my God, that was the last. You can go back and count those things.
I like a timeline. I wanted to do it kind of like a timeline.
Yeah.
And then there's two more parts. It's like a group, a communal experience I'm creating. And there's two more parts to it. So, but
Next month.
Well-
So, Lisa Marie, it's great to have you here. I'm looking forward to hearing what you've been writing lately.
Thank you so much. Can everybody hear me okay? Just give me a thumbs up if you can hear me. Okay, perfect. So we were talking earlier, one thing I'd like to do is have people give me a word and then I write them a poem on the fly. So this first one is called Broken, and that comes from one of those words that someone gave me. To constantly relive the childhood tragedy of having dropped something and having that thing wind up broken. To constantly want a pause button to stop tragedy mid-air. To constantly want to go to undo gravity. The sting of broken things lingers, leaves little splinters in the darkest corners of your psyche. Stuck so deep they leave a phantom pain that aches instinctively when someone hands you a glass or say their heart. Thank you. And then just to keep with that cheerful motif, this one's called Depression. And this will probably, I wrote this before the pandemic, but it relates to the pandemic too. It's 13 steps to the mailbox if you only count the stairs and not the steps it takes to get to them. It's daunting when it's cold outside and you know it's only bills inside there anyway. There are pieces of mostly eaten pizza still in the very open and flammable box you set atop your stove, inexplicably. You can count the number of days since you showered on one hand, and that is still a blessing. But you're cutting it close. What's the point, you wonder? One thumb scrolling mindless through a love rival's Facebook feed, the other team working with your index finger to remove every last eyebrow hair you have, so that when you finally leave the house in a week or 3, you'll look pleasantly unapproachable. Thank you.
wow.
Very nice. Thank you. Who's next? Oh, how about Bob Chacoin? You ready?
Ready. I got a little short tale for all's the use, as we used to say on the south side.
All yous guys.
Oh, yeah, all the use. Saying the name Illinois after the name of any town in it makes a stranger want to live there. Galesburg, Illinois. Collinsville, Illinois. Even Mattoon, Illinois. Even Dixmoor, Illinois, although nobody, not even the mayor, wants to live in Dixmoor. The year I traveled to France and was asked where I was from, Parisians would answer, "Aha, Chicago, Illinois." When I was a boy just able to read, I spotted a street sign from the back seat as my father drove us around Chicago. Blue Island. Blue Island. Why, the ocean around an island might be blue and the sky above it blue. The island itself blue? Marvelous, but how? Why is the street called Blue Island? I asked my dad. It's a mystery, he said. No one knows. Do the people who live on Blue Island know the mystery? No one lives on Blue Island, he said, because if they did, then they would learn the mystery and they would have to go out into the world in search of a new mystery. Later, I heard there was a town called Blue Island, and I asked my father what kind of town it was. Is it surrounded by water? Is it blue from berries or from giant whales? He told me it's a town with so many secrets that its citizens all act bland and boring and sleepily normal so that no one from the outside world would suspect there are secrets to be known there. After my father was gone, I would wander around Chicago and came one day across Blue Island Avenue, a not very long diagonal street with warehouses and public housing, and then found the little municipality of Blue Island, way south on Western Avenue, just an old industrial settlement with a brickyard and an opera house. The people there pronounce the name as if it were one word, Blyland. Over the years, the idea of a blue island lost its magic, along with the green light at the end of Jay Gatsby's Pier or the golden wheat fields outside Auvers and Van Gogh's late paintings. Then 4 years ago this November, I was watching the election returns on the television. I'd always thought of our home state as just a piece of the Midwest, part of the Union, part of the working, unflappable core of the country. I watched as Iowa turned red on the national map, Indiana red, Missouri, Kentucky, Wisconsin, Michigan go red. There we were, alone and unmysterious on the screen. Our secrets open to anyone, but nonetheless still safe with us. My old father's afterlife as a whale right there. Illinois. Illinois. My blue island. In 4 weeks, we're going to have some company in blue in the Midwest. Thanks, folks.
Love that. I just love that.
Bob, do you have another one for us?
That's all, folks, for today.
All right.
Well, thanks for memories of Blue Island. Boy, I used to take the Blue Island bus to high school. So
You too can be one of the group of Chicago poets that we know and love, like Larry Janowski and quite a few others. And now
And
we
what
have,
a dad! What a dad!
what's
That's
that?
quite a father.
Yeah. Well, so yeah, next month we will hopefully be here, or else we'll be recording from Canada. But hopefully we'll still be here and have something at least to celebrate. And I think the last person in the open mic is Louise, is it Roberson?
It's Robertson, like son of Robert.
Oh, I think we left out a T.
Okay.
All right, so now you're Louise Robinson. Looking forward to hearing what you brought us today.
Okay, just a couple short ones. I thank you very much for letting me read, and I'm really looking forward to the great open mic. Really looking forward to the features. Anyway, the first of the couple short ones I wrote about a year ago, and it seems like it's a million years ago, so I thought I'd read it. It's called Ant. She must have been living on the mat for weeks, fat on crumbs, sugar, loneliness. Like a scatter, she scrambles over a knee. Later, she appears on the dash, then on the side window. Such a big, round abdomen, shell rubbed and dulled by the dark afternoon. Will you be my Wilson, stranded by this commute, Ant? Will you be a Madeline or lanyard? A genie's bottle, more like. A place to put complaints described as wishes. And so we drive home, wishing, complaining, wishing. So who commutes? Okay, let's see. Sorry, scrolling. Okay. This poem is called A Writer Needs a Good Chair. It has to be able to take a punch and random kicks to the legs. How else are you going to wrestle the snarling dog in a terrible hug while her claws and teeth score your neck, stomach, and thighs? You can't do that sitting in a wobbly thing. I chugged champagne here, burned my armpits, froze to death, slapped him back, crashed into oceans over and over again, scratched at walls, rocked to face, and here, the chair held, my body held. I mean, chair. I mean, it took. I mean, I gave. I mean, the body, it gave. It took. It gave.
Oh my goodness.
Thank you.
That was super. That was
Wow. Thank you, everybody. This was a great open mic. I think we got everybody, right, Nina?
yeah, I think we did. I'm wondering about what's next. Kurt, did you have another slideshow you wanted to run for us before
No.
we start with features?
No,
No.
it's nice. No slideshow. Very simple. I thought I had titles and things to present, but that's all. That you guys can go ahead and do what you need to do.
All right then.
One
So
of these months, we're going to get you to read again, Kurt, instead of being the man behind the
One
curtain.
of these months, maybe. You know, we'll see how that goes. But thank you anyway.
Yeah, I'm really hoping that's going to happen. So I need to find the bios for people, but let's see. While I'm doing that, feel free to gab a little bit. Oh, I think I may have found it.
While you're doing that, we need to find Rusty.
Oh,
There he is. There he is. Okay.
hey, Rusty. So yeah, we don't, Rusty, are you there?
He's there.
Yes, he's there, but there's no, you're not in the screen. So there you go. Turn on you're still muted.
Yep. Invisible and muted. It's always the safest way to go.
Ah, look at that. We do now have a
Oh,
little,
Lord, what is that?
just in case you're wondering, some of the people that we've had here before, and just not in the last, this was just in the last couple of years. Fantastic. And then we're going to be featuring Rose. Whoa, that was impressive.
Wow, what
Kurt.
a guy.
Kurt, I thought you said you didn't do anything.
Yeah,
I
Kurt,
lied.
you have to read now.
I lied. Someday I'm going to meld what I know about television to what we're still trying to figure out with Zoom, and it'll be a show from everybody else's house, you know. So
It'll be a great health plan. It'll be a perfect health plan.
There you go.
and the Supreme Court won't be able to veto it or anything.
Yeah, it's going to veto everything. Anyway, I don't want to be maudlin. I just want to introduce Rusty Russell, and he's been calling himself Robert of late, but as far as I'm concerned, he's still Rusty. And I just want to remind people, Rusty's got like 10 to 12 minutes, and we're going to we don't bring people up anymore, right? Then we're going to have Rose read after that for about 20 to 22 minutes. And here we go. Rusty is a recovering economist. I don't know how long it takes to recover from that, but good luck with it. He coordinated the Cheap at Any Price poetry series in Madison for 15 years. He was actually in a workshop with me and Brenda Cardenas and Tony Trujillo and
Oh, yeah.
Larry, and yeah, it was great. And he also taught workshops in Mexico, Wisconsin, and at the National Poetry Slam. Produced a CD called The Jungle of Roses, funded by the Wisconsin Arts Council, and a chapbook, Witness, available on Amazon, so you can check that out. And since we're unable to have people pay our features the way we'd like, maybe you can just go and look up Jungle of Roses. So, Rusty Russell.
Jungle of Roses not available anymore.
Oh.
What can I say? Bob Chico, by the way, you know, if you didn't exist, God would have had to invent you. a great title for a poem, No One Lives on Blue Island. I challenge you to write a poem about that. We'll meet next time.
One-line haiku. Go with
Right.
that.
So much for that. I don't usually write occasional poems, but by default, this is, I guess, an occasional poem. It's called October. October is a man chopping down a tree in the middle of the night. October burns leaves all day, and at dusk, the smoke smells like childhood and darkness. October is a train pulling out of the station, carrying suitcases packed in haste, and passengers who sleep only fitfully in their seats, unable to stretch the full length of their lives. October dries the midwife's bloody sheets too slowly on a line beside the tracks. Days of sun forgotten in a few unexpected hours of rain when no one was home to bring in the wash. October is a broken lake where the harvest moon burns in waves. Glass is no longer honest here. It tells stories no one believes by night, no one listens by day. October is 31 cold birthdays, the guests thirsty, the host locked in the bedroom crying, and a train almost too far to hear, calling him over and over and over to the edge of town where the lake is still burning and the leaves. Yeah, what is the sound of two hands clapping on Zoom? This is a trilogy about the phoenix. Y'all know what a phoenix is. I'm not going to explain that. The phoenix. I'm tired of it. The soot all over my shiny new feathers. The sour taste of my own ashes that hangs on for days, and those damn half memories of another life, another life, another life, like a dream. Memories I can't quite reach, like my own name, right on the tip of my tongue, but gone before I've grown used to it. Giving birth to myself over and over again, scorching the carpet, singeing anyone close to me. I always wonder what else I've lost in those flames besides feathers and memories. I must have been a fireman once, probably volunteer. I know I've seen others torn from their homes as it all burned down around them. I kind of remember a guy sitting on a curb, still in shock, who'd carried out nothing but his keys. Confronted with that quick, awful decision of what to save, what to leave behind, everything canceled out, and he just grabbed the closest thing to hand. It wasn't jewelry or cash. It was the keys to his house that had just burned down. Haven't we been here before? After a time, it's impossible to tell memories of dreams from memories of your life. Like a bedtime story when you fall asleep before the end, once upon a time, and the rest is up to you. Once upon a time, there was a fire beside a river. The current was strong, and someone was calling my name. But when I tried to answer, it was just the wind insisting on the brittle leaves outside the bedroom window. And even if I could fall back asleep, it wouldn't be the same. I'd fall into another accident of details. Dreams are like that. That's how I recognize reality when I see it. I keep coming back. Dragging myself out of bed, stumbling into the shower where it's almost that same sound, while someone else, A sweetheart I've known since childhood stands in a kitchen alive with light, trying to listen to the weather on the radio through all the static and the bacon sizzling. Once upon a time like that, I fell into the spell of the shower on the tiles in the bath, forgetting my dream, forgetting my name, and remembering a time when we were still kids and she and I sneaked behind the house and into the woods. It was fall then, leaves burning in piles along all the streets, smoke drifting at eye level, blessing the end of the day. And we were 12. She was still a girl, but already her body was bearing her blindly into herself, like rowing toward a familiar voice. And although we'd grown up together, I had never seen what she was going to show me then. Crows tore words apart in the neighbor's trees, and I was scared to see how she would change into someone I didn't know, and I'd have to pretend I knew. And I was scared she would want me to change too. But when her pants fell on the ground, I laughed because I knew how it would feel when she pulled them back on, damp and scratchy with leaves in her underpants. The sun was already sinking. She didn't ask me to take mine off. We were both late for dinner. I've forgotten how to remember dreams differently from everything else. And in that way, they are released, and I recognize them as sounds. The fire, the wind, someone cooking for someone else, falling asleep in the bathroom where most household accidents occur. Different lives are only dreams. Each unlike the one before, each just barely remembered. They all stretch behind me like a river that I drag for memories that dissolve in the morning light. What surfaces is a mirror over a dresser reflecting my bed and an alarm clock. White sheets open like wings, and I get up. But when I sleep, I'm released from being myself. And sometimes I dream of the ocean, and she looks tired. It's all she can do just to lie there, breathing. In the fall, migrating flocks of Canadian geese fly over the water at night, above the clouds where no one can hear them, with the moon and the stars guiding them to the other side of the world. Even though they're too high to see, in my dream, I can see them, bathed in moonlight, the color of driftwood, strung across a horizon so familiar to them that they fly it by instinct, as if in their sleep, and in the camera moonlight, they dream. They aren't really geese, not as we think of them, but a single flock. And in that shared mind, not all are awake, not all are asleep. Not all of them make it. Every year, one or two fall behind into a dream of the belly of water beneath them that swells and falls like a woman sleeping as alone as a name. Her arms stretched out to the edge of her life, her breath swelling and falling in a dream of flying that begins with a fire at a vanishing house and ends asleep somewhere over the water, wings finally open as if embracing by instinct the slow spiral down to the waves. That's the trilogy. I'll wind up with one short thing, a little bit different. Some of you may have heard this before. My sympathies. You're going to hear it again. Horoscope. Forget about signs. Accidents are not orderly. Start the day counting silently from 1. Count all day. Let it pull you like a burglar through a window. Eat smaller portions. This afternoon, you will negotiate with strangers and lose, but you'll make the sale. Avoid eye contact. Your daughter will find that missing silver earring in the pocket of a jacket she outgrew as a child. If you don't have a daughter, you will imagine what she would look like. You will be mistaken. All day, you'll be the only witness to last moments that never declare themselves to be a lifetime until they are. Pay attention. Remember that money is not like memory, which is always worth more than it weighs. Call the media. News is happening all around you. Thank you.
Rusty, that was
Thank you, Rusty.
That was amazing. That was really amazing. Thank you so much. I remember why I wanted to have you in the workshop. Now, I am going to just read a couple of notes in the chat. One of them is from Robbie to everyone in regards Phoenix, the Phoenix, and she says it used to be a paper in Boston, which maybe nobody else would, maybe that would mean nothing to anybody else except for me, having grown up in Boston and having read the Phoenix all the time and just haven't thought about it. So thanks for the reminder.
Same here. Yeah, I was really interested to be reminded of.
So, and from Kurt to everyone, cheap at any price poets. Did Mary Shen Barnage, Kurt wants to know, participate in that group at one point? I remember her talking about them. Were you ever in Whitewater at Cafe Carpe? Kurt, I'm assuming that's a question for Rusty, right?
Rusty? Yeah, Mary Shen. I knew Mary Shen in Chicago. I didn't. Yes. I never knew her from the cafe that you're referring to, but she was a pal from a long time back.
Yeah, she was a real mover and shaker here in Chicago, but she had connections across Wisconsin, I remember. And you being here in Chicago and now in Wisconsin, I just had to ask. You know, it's like people like to say us, them, but it's not that way all the time. People go back and forth all the time.
Yeah, it was one great. It was a big family for a while.
Absolutely.
Well, let's give another hand for Rusty Russell. Thank you so much for being part of our reading. For those that don't know, we have had a rule that we haven't given up on for some reason after 18 years of only having people feature once. And the only way we were able to get around that, because I was thinking, my God, our friends, you know, we haven't heard from them in years and years and years. And so having them open for our new feature poet has been our workaround. Because of that, I can have people, particularly now, I can bring people in from all over. And tonight, I want to share with you a poet that I'm just so pleased to have heard through Woman Made Gallery. Her work has appeared in the Examined Life, Pluck, Naugatuck River Review, Snapdragon, Minola Review, not Minolta Review, though I almost said that, Dying Dahlia Review, Main Street Rag, The Pedestal, Pavement Saw, a few others, and other journals and anthologies. She's the author of 4 chapbooks, most recently, Holes in My Teeth, on Cattywampus Press. but her collection, full-length collection, called Unearthing Ida is what caught my attention. And it won the 2018 Lyrebird Press from Glass. You guys are pronouncing it Lear, and I've pronounced it Lyre. I have no idea which is which. And she is a senior editor with Pudding Magazine and served several years as a state competition judge and often as coach to students, student champions for Ohio Arts Council's Poetry Out Loud program. Rose is an IT requirements analyst by day. She's a Cave Canem fellow, and she wrote in the chat, she says, wow, and I'm assuming she means this is such a great reading that she feels like she needs to go and run and put on her wig now. And I really appreciate that comment. It really has been a great reading so far, but come as you are, we're so pleased to have you. I do want to say also, for some reason it didn't get into your bio, you have a TED Talk, or did a TED Talk, am I right? So if you don't have enough of her tonight, you can go look there, but of course you can also go to YouTube because the reading will be posted immediately or in a day or two. Kurt,
give it a few hours at least. It takes a while to crunch, but people are out there watching it live now. About a dozen people.
What? I do want to say that we should all give a hand to Kurt Heintz, the man behind the curtain, for making it possible for people all over the place to see it and to enable us to meet during COVID time. So Rose, come on up to the mic. Oh, wait a minute. There is no mic.
Thank you, Nina. And thank you for inviting me to read. This has been a wonderful open mic. I've truly enjoyed it. Really wonderful, thank you. And that wig comment was in response to that amazing slideshow that was displayed. So I look so different than I did in my photo. So I did want to, before I read anything from the book, I wanted to, in the interest of honoring or not honoring the day, it is Columbus Day, and that brings to mind a different perspective when I think of it in terms of my family and my history. So the first couple of poems have to do a bit with that, loosely with that. First is called Learning Classes. Nobody told us our collars were blue as we drifted through histories in the making on Ohio streets, our spindly visions wrapped in hand-me-down illusions of plenty, our scrubbed faces made more beautiful by grandmother deaconess hands, by a staunch grandfather's earned respect. White blouses always. White goes with everything, makes anything grander as we tapped black patents down waxed hallways on Sundays, donned Oxfords brown, for treks to Shepherd Elementary School, tops of our classes, launching pads for what to come. Cotillion dreams were set aside for few, doctors, pastors, daughters, and lawyers' sons, better to do progeny of some whose lives had moved them forward from postal worker, forklift driver, street builder, machinist, coal miner, head of household, doing well enough, but still an other kind, country still clinging to their tall work boots. Nobody told us that our collars were blue, that blue remains unless one grabs the tails of stars, but we discerned the boundaries drawn in privilege and place and never questioned why the glistening edge of more than seemed to move with the horizon. One day's journey past where we had ever been. This is called Holocausts. Holocausts. On the Broad Street wall of Temple Israel are gulags carved in granite, a procession of concentration camps, long familiar names that clamor history to all who listen. Pausing there, the echoed cries of millions ring from that unfeeling stone. Semitic margins drawn on shrinking circles pour silence over mass graves filled with bones. Grandfather, whose skin was black, did not speak of this, neither of bartered men, children whisked away from auction blocks, did not dwell upon forced labor or the lingering burn and stench of flesh invaded that refused to be consumed. Handed no war stories down our generations. In rapt denial, he bore stripes of punishment in the bent bow of his back, the sea of words bitten back to fester on his tongue. They called us Johnson, Baker, Davis, Smith, Warner, Jefferson, Creel. We did not come here with such names, and yet they echo still. In a mound of leather, bone, and brick, in memories set as stone, my father, a stranger young in glossy wartime pictures, their scalloped edges calling us to questions never to be resolved. In every one, he smiles, each one a mark of hope for equality and sacrifice repaid. In every one, he stares a truth unspeakable into our novice eyes. And this last one is, and I forgot to start my timer, Nina. Hang on a second. I'll start it now, sorry. And this third one is in owing in some way to recognize the climate of our current society, the things going on across our nation. This poem is called Blood from the Sun for Dontre Hamilton, December 2014. Dontre Hamilton was a mentally ill young man who was known to be mentally ill after several encounters with the police, but encountered a policeman and was fought back and was shot 14 times in Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Blood from the Sun. They think your quiet is okay. Okay to the raised hand threatening, okay to the hard word flung from uniformed tongues, till the dam of your brain overflows with words only fists can deliver. Through current and weed, cast off scales, the ghosts of dead boys reeking with the cold breath of gladiolas they come. You were once the absent word, the nothing felt. You were the nothing thought right, nothing said right. The startled lad within you, once taught to cower, wakes now with a curled back fist, pulls your reins to turn you away from the run, away from the fear that striped your back, muddied your thoughts, back to meet your tormentor at its face. After 14 shots of unleashed rage, blood from the sun I will never have cries out with yours from the ground at Red Arrow Park. A son's life soaking into fallow ground, fear a river roiling through the blades, blood that will never carry air to your schizophrenic lung, your beached fish flutter not enough to put an officer at ease. You slept without class on a wooden bench, lay too long in public view, looked too scary there, messing with no one, looked too black, too little like a Starbucks groupie, one time too many, then two, then three, hand on trigger, then 14. Even a wildcat cornered, roars into a predator's face, lets out its claws to tear leathered skin, life-bearing flesh, to take the arm of that attack deep into its mouth, hold on fast even as its own bones break. Blood from the mouth defeated pours onto sallow ground, life leaching from him in a madman's wake. Blood from the sun I will never have, all my empty aching. There are more than 14 small drops here. How do I get my young man's shed blood back?
Whoa, that was amazing.
Wow.
Thank you.
Thank you, Rose.
This next poem and actually I'm starting to read a few poems from the book Unearthing Ida at this point. Unearthing Ida won this prize in 2018. It was the Lyrebird Prize. Nina, you were correct. And it was published in November of 2019, right when weather was getting too cold to travel around and do readings everywhere. So I said, oh, I'll go back to it in the spring. And believe it or not, we got hit in the spring, right, with something totally different than expected. So I'm going to read from my book. It's a year old, but I love it, and I hope that you will love it, and it needs its time. This poem is called A Thing for Flowers. There are characters in the book that flow back and forth throughout the narrative. The book is a life told in poems, and one of the characters in this poem is Kaki, who becomes Ida's husband at one point. This is called A Thing for Flowers. In his voice. Soft skirt, the yellow of dust on stamen, swinging in a gentle breeze. Hair sleek, shiny, graceful neck thin. She was pistol in the center of a gathered group. All of them soft and beautiful, but she was life, surrounded by almost, by maybe, and a couple of sure things whispered about. Untouched, that's what it was, drew me in, called to me like that, standing at not quite sundown on the boardwalk right outside the general store. And Kit and Jimmy nudged me, pushed me up on her with sly elbows, sideways grins. Olive skin pink by an hour so standing round in sun and August soup, sweat glistening on her upper lip, and I wouldn't have said a word till she looked dead at me, eyes smiling, mouth a question. That's what I tell them when they ask me what I saw in that old mealy-mouthed girl, standing back on her heels, arms across her chest like a school teacher, waiting for quiet but determined not to yell. So I just leaned in and real gentle like told her, hey, I can't much dance either. And there it was, smile, a hint of secrets hidden under all that farm girl glow. No big sparks, no magic, just a hint of a nod, a daylily sheltered by a wall, barely catching that swing, looking too sweet to pick, but me, with a thing for flowers. And this is, I have to be really careful what to pick from the book because time flies very quickly. This is called Buckshot Run. Ida's brother Grady looks back. Fool old tractor would not run that day, else I would not have seen that fella come strolling up, starch crease of a uniform, stiff lipped hat, asked for leverage, and I thought, oh no, here we go again. Daddy about to run off another shiny boot, trying to cut a rug with Hazel or Marion or some such. And I figured that was all about to be a real short visit because they both got on about some school teacher hired down the road and might as well had on ankle irons for all the further they'd get to go. Turns out this soldier fella was after Ida. Storm on Daddy's face made his skin look gray. Passed by quick but dark. No surprise. They say she was Daddy's favorite. Ida weren't no queen. Maybe he thought she'd always be right there. Mama being sick like she was. Now, if you'd asked me then, I would have said 5 minutes. 5 minutes for that soldier to come running out quick. Daddy been known to send a fella or two on a buckshot run, ask the wrong things around here. But this fella, nicknamed Khaki, she told me later, this fella took up on the couch across from Daddy nearly 2 hours, just talking. Stayed for dinner. Walk him round to the back and down along the pasture, still holding his hat, and came back alive. Shook hands on his way out. I knew right then weren't no sense in thinking nothing but Ida gone. Daddy, he did not let a single one of his girls touch a toe out past where he gave his permission. Permission or strap, one or the other. Wish I'd known right then Khaki wasn't no count. Yes, sir. Wish I'd known right then. Well, Nina, I tried to avoid doing this poem.
Don't avoid it.
Yeah, I tried. Nina, okay. Ida's life gets interrupted. There are highs and lows throughout the book, but one of the pivotal moments in her story occurs here in a poem called Pulse. Yeah, I tried to not read this poem, Nina. I put it way in the back.
I feel like I should read it for you, but nobody can read it the way you do. And that said, if you don't want to, that's cool too.
It's here and it's in the packet, and I kept thinking, nah, I don't want to read that. I don't want to overwhelm people. I don't want to read that poem. But the poem keeps saying, read me. So you do it. You do it.
And now all of us are going, read me.
Yeah. The poem is called Pulse. Ida on ECT, 1961. And the footnote for this poem is, in its early use, up to 80% of ECT patients experienced some form of amnesia, losing either hours before treatment or weeks or years prior to the event. This poem is called Pulse, Ida on ECT, 1961. Woke up nowhere, reaching for my why. Gray-haired Sally purring, time to take your pills. Remembered card game in the common room, someone beating tables, loud drum beat like boots, marching unison. Yes, boots, marching, starched khaki, music, that voice again in my head, worthless, you hear me? Worthless. So I asked Sally, did she hear that? She calls Doc every time. Doctor so sexy, I think I want him, but this man steals memories. Old sexy white man croon, quiet Ida, or we'll have to do a treatment. Do you want another treatment? Is that what you need, Ida? Then something mumbled to two blue shirts, lighter blue, not EMT blue. Oh God, not again blue. Coming again to steal me blue. So I practice. You had a child in Montgomery, Ida. She's still neath your waist when the dam broke, slid out singing in a place like this, white uniform and bassinet, Apgar score and scream. Your sister's nose, your father's eyes, mother's long-suffering toe, feet in rack, shots in your back, sleep between contractions. You had her, held her, thin and sweet, little pucker lips. Remember, Ida, remember. You had a child in Autauga on a mat of blankets in your father's house, your mother's room, canal marauder, bowed legs waving she came. No rack, no anesthetic quilt she came, squatting like a break in the fields till she came, lifted into Sister Annie's hands. She wears your nose, your eyes, your jumpy little fidget and a smile, round cherub face, Ida, remember. Grip the shimmering thread, Ida. Think, grip, think, remember, tuck them away before the pulse. 2 kids, backyard, chicken, pasture on a hill, trees back by the fence, gate to the garden. Some are cukes, some are corn, some are squash. Squash them deep into that brain of yours. Tuck, Ida, tuck, cover them before they take you. Cover the back home things, the light, cover the love sweet things, cover sweet child, check dress, photos, Sundays at Glory Baptist Church, kids in tow, baby brothers smile, pull them back from the keening ledge. Say, it'll be all right tomorrow. Say, little brother, don't run, stay. Say, hold on, don't let go. Say, cling to the wet with me. Hold the synapse tight, grip your teeth. You are stronger than pulse, than membrane. Hold, think, I had a daughter. No, 2. Think, sister, father, farm, freedom, alone. Think alone. No, don't think alone. Think nobody knows the trouble I've seen. No, think no trouble. Think no trouble. Think music and swing dance. I'd think music and swing dance. I'd think Doris on the tube. Think dance at the air base. Sweet Lena skipping with you on a red dirt road and no voices. Think no voices. Think no voices. Think no voices. Think, think, think. Gray-haired Sally leaning over me. It's time to take your pills. Okay, I'm down to about 5 minutes.
You couldn't not read that poem.
Thank you so much for sharing that. Thank you.
Okay. I think I'm going to read one of the last poems in the book called Morning, IV Time. Ida wakes up on an IV. Ida, Sinai Grace Hospital, August 2014. Morning, IV time. Sal's muslin for trough space, Autauga mornings, open every eye still sleeping, announced daylight had reached above horizon, while high-pitched wails said Albie was out there tipping up feed buckets brimming with corn cob, green stem, feeder grain, ready for the snout. Round-bodied snooze alarms singing after the crow. Eldrina and I used to chase piglets around that pen sometimes in summer, chasing those little ones, frisky wiggle tails. More than a time or two, I slipped in all that muck, messed up another pair of cotton shorts and got the switch, but not at morning. Without looking, we knew Daddy'd be on his tractor heading toward the front acres where cotton, lope, and melon waited to be managed. He was good at that. Easy to do, manage the life of things that grow in stillness, things that move so slow your eye can't see. Don't take speed to catch a slow shell though. You know that old fable. Best to keep on moving somehow. All them fruit got to do is wait for a wink from daddy's gray rimmed eyes to never go to waste. Eventually they all go ripe, full of seed and just about to bust. About the time their skins can't hold life back another day. I am familiar with the way of melons, how they swell and sit, take up rain and wait, drink that shimmer in through shallow roots, yielding just enough. Can almost smell them strewn all over in the leaves. I've been to pick a treat, then wake up empty-handed in this strange Detroit room. Look around and, oh, I'm still here. I wait for the nice one to come turn me over. Only this skin here can't keep the ripeness in. Feels like these old bones been taken back instead of giving out. I am the stem that's left after daddy walked the plat. Nothing between me and the wither, but that steady drip managed by practiced hands.
Amazing.
Wonderful. Just powerful.
We done, or you guys want one a little bit lighter?
Are you up for another one? I know we'd love to hear it.
This is a little lighter. It's not in the book. We're done. Unearthing Ida is, some of the poems are hard to read. And I mean, it's an ongoing narrative. I hope that you'll pick it up and read her story. But this is called Surrogates. Oh, no. I don't want to read that one either. This is from the book.
Before you do that, Kurt can share something. I don't remember what you worked out with him, but I do want to.
Well, you know what? People, I was concerned about supply if I gave my PayPal address, but people can PayPal me at rosepoet185. And that's paypal.me at rosepoet185. You can pick up Unearthing Ida through me, or you can pick up Unearthing Ida from the publisher's site, which is glassliarpress.com. Just go to the book section and search for the book, Unearthing Ida.
What a gift. Thank you so much. And we're looking forward to hearing this last piece.
This last piece is just meant to be a little bit of fun. I used to slam too, Rusty. And my slam coach used to always fuss at me if I left people down when I did a feature.
Who was that?
Scott Woods. So Scott, here's to you. I'm gonna, if you ever watch this, I'm gonna read this poem called Scarcities and not leave people in a down place. Scarcities. Slate gray north sky names tonight a Friday spent at home. Another week, a tapped out well, capped off, no more blood to siphon from my supposed endless supply. The path to I-670 backed up 2 immovable blocks. I crossed the gap opened for me by a white Mercedes SUV. Taking 3rd to Broad, I head for the last place I saw a bag of dandy corn twisties. The melt already part of me curled up to watch an episode or 2 of Perception. You know that show, Perception. There are so few places I can find this favorite indulgence. Not enough cheese to set intolerance off. Less salt than anything touted by Chester Cheetah and his crunch. But once again, not even one on this gas station quick mart shelf. I miss things taken for granted. Walks in the park, mini marathons for charity, 15-cent boxes of rolled gold pretzel sticks, and impromptu movie nights with Frankie, who's been gone 2 years already. Seems like yesterdays are lining up too fast while all the world goes faster. Everyone wants their news in bites or through social network shares. Some things you only find at Walmart now, where lines are just long enough to make these no walking legs go numb. And this old woman's back scream for the curl, the melt, the slow passage of time. Thank you.
That was wonderful.
Rose, thank you. That was really just so wonderful.
Yes.
So wonderful.
Thank you so much. And I want to thank everybody. We had a great night of poetry. It's really refreshing to see everybody's face and hear such great work. Thank you, Rose. Thank you, Rusty, for our 2 features tonight and all our open micers. It was a great reading.
You know, why doesn't everybody feel free to unmute so that we can get the sound of 2 hands times 14 or 15 clapping? And for the open mic, for Rose, for Rusty, get Unearthing Ida from Rose and or from Glass Liar. And next month, between now and then, make sure to vote, please, unless you're not voting for Biden, in which case stay home. I kind of shouldn't say that, but
just trying to get my mom to vote for Kasich.
Next month, we've got Tim Siebels, and you will not want to miss him. And if you haven't already joined or liked the Traveling Molly's series on Facebook, please do, and will keep you updated.
Yep. I guess there's nothing left to say except thanks again. We'll see you next month. Thank you, Kurt, our man behind the curtain, who makes this all happen. And just so you all know, once it takes a little time, but we will post this as a video on YouTube at that address that we sent out, so you can share it with your friends and all that. And the nice thing is you can, find yourself and tell your friends exactly where you're at in the video. So thank you all, and thanks to all the people who are listening on YouTube, listening live. There's a number of people there tonight too, so thank you all.
Good night. Thank you so much.
Great
job, everyone.
And you too, Rusty. Good night.
Thank you.
Good night, everybody.
Thanks, everyone.
Good night. Thank you so much. Thank you.
So good to see all of you.
Bonsoir.
Take care, Shelley.
Yeah. Bonsoir. Good seeing you, Ralph, even though we're only minutes away.
Good night.